It's time for the Unnamed SWTOR Podcast, a podcast so good it doesn't need a name. So without any further ado, here's your host, JD. Take it away, Johnny.
Hello, my friends, and welcome to episode 24 of the Unnamed SWTOR Podcast. I'm your host, JD, aka Galactic, and today's episode will unfortunately be a short one. There just wasn't all that much SWTOR news coming out, and I was not able to get any recordings of the Cantina that happened in Austin. I was going to wait and do an episode until that came out. I know Tour Wars will have the audio out on that probably this week, usually Monday or Tuesday they got that done. So we'll have some news coming out then. We'll be able to comment on those next week. But for now, I wanted to put out at least something to get you by, because I know some of you really count on getting their podcast in on Monday, because I know not a lot of podcasts update on a Monday. So hopefully this will tide you over until we do get some more news. But what will we be talking about this week? This week we will be discussing the top 5 things.
Red 2, I've got a topic coming in hot, requesting clearance to engage.
Lock as foils and attack positions. You are cleared to discuss.
So seeing as there was such little SWTOR news this week, I figured will I not do something fun surrounding the Galactic Starfighter expansion, which we know will be coming in December, for subscribers that is. All you free-to-players will have to wait a little while for that. But I can't do a whole episode on the double XP weekend that we're getting, or double XP week really at this point, that we'll be getting this coming week. So why not do something cool, something fun? I know everyone likes lists. Humans as a race love lists for some reason. I don't get it, but I love them. You guys love them. I guarantee you guys love them. So why not do a list of the top 5 things I'd like to see in Galactic Starfighter going forward? Now I want to be clear. These are things that I'm not ranking by likelihood that we'll see them or by what I think will be best for the game. Alright, so let's take a look at this list I've made up. Number 5, mixed ground and space PvP. And this is something that I've done in a previous wall of crazy topic, but I think it would be really cool and really Star Wars-like if we were able to mix the ground combat and the space combat in some meaningful way. So that players would be mixing it up on the ground, that would affect the space game, and the space guys would have to be doing something in space to affect the ground game. So space guys taking down a shield generator while the ground guys are taking out anti-air turrets. Something like that would be super cool, super flavorful, and really fit into the game style and the game modes I think people would like. It would be similar in concept to how EVE does it with their new FPS that they have, Dust 514 I think it is. Something like that would be really interesting and cool, I think. So I'd love to see that, and that's why it's number 5 in the list. Number 4, in-cockpit view. Now this is something that I'm sure a lot of players want and a lot of people don't care about at all. Actually, I wouldn't even say a lot of people want. I think a small subset of players want. But I, for one, whenever I go into my racing games, when I'm playing Forza or any of the other racing games, I love the in-cockpit view. I know it might not necessarily be the optimal way to play, but I just think the in-cockpit view is so immersive, so cool, watching all the gauges and stuff going all around, watching through the actual windshield of your car, being able to turn your head and see what's going on behind you, see things in your rearview mirror. So I just think that's incredibly immersive, and I would love to have that added to my Starship game. I know it, like I said, probably not the optimal way to play Galactic Starfighter, but I think for the cool factor and for the reasons I don't think it would be super difficult to implement. I mean, I don't know exactly. I don't know how for real that actually is, but if you could just throw up an overlay on the screen, that would be your cockpit view. Just have your windshield and just a guy's arms animated. That would be cool. Probably, now that I'm thinking about it, like the first-person-ness, probably not the easiest thing to implement, but it's something that's cool, and I would like to see it. Number 3, multiplayer ships and capital ships. This is something that I know everyone would love to see, and that would be capital ships. Not necessarily guild capital ships in my eyes, but I think that multiplayer ships and capital ships are something, again, very Star Wars-y, and very cool. Would be awesome to see them added into the space game. Have you as a little fighter fighting against other players in a capital ship would be cool. Being able to summon a capital ship and have players spawn in the turrets and the guns would also be cool. I don't think I really need to explain why we would like to see capital ships, or I would like to see capital ships or multiplayer ships added into space. It's just something that I think the community would love to see, but not something we'll particularly be seeing anytime soon. That being said, I could still wish for it, and that's why it makes my top 5 list of things I'd like to see in Galactic Starfighter. Number 2, additional game types. Now, I would love to see more than the one game type that we have. This also goes without saying that I would like to see more maps, but I think game types definitely need to be added. The domination is cool, and I see why they did it, but it could definitely get old really fast. Even the 2 different maps don't necessarily fundamentally change how you play the game type. So multiple game types I think will be incredibly important to get them out quickly to kind of break up the monotony of space combat. Deathmatch, Assault, King of the Hill, all game types that I think would work and make sense in the space context. So the faster they get those in, I think the better returns they see. I think people would love the idea of space and will love space in the beginning, but I think quickly it may get old if we don't have some kind of variety other than the 2 maps that we have. Now, it's cool to say that you have 2 maps, but you really have 1 map, like I said. You're not fundamentally changing the gameplay of your players by having the mesas versus the in-space. It's essentially the same map. So we need to get new maps out there as fast as possible, and I'm guessing that we will be getting them. I think they understand that, and they're just getting it out there while they can, and will be updating frequently going forward. And finally, the number 1 thing I would like to see in Galactic Starfighter going forward is PvE flashpoints and operations. I mean, this one goes without saying. It's probably a cop-out answer, but I would love to see PvE in space, and I know we're not going to get it anytime soon, but this is my wish list, and I would love to see Galactic Starfighter go PvE. Since the game launched, I've said this a billion times, I have been thinking about operations in space, fighting your way to a planet so you can get to an operations boss, fighting through a trench run as the final boss of an operation, assaulting a capital ship so you can land on it and then get into the operation, breaking through blockades. Maybe you start on a planet and you have to break through the blockade in space to get to the bad guy's space station, or to get to another planet where you find out the bad guy actually is hiding. You could have an escape escort mission in there just to mix things up. You could probably have a puzzle boss in space somehow. The possibilities to PvP in space are endless, and I really hope that it's something that they will work on going forward. They said if people wanted it, they would work on it, and I think there has been a resounding yes to PvE in space. So I'd love to see flashpoints and operations. I don't necessarily care about being able to just do like solo content in space. Whatever, that doesn't really appeal to me as much. I just think working together in a group, getting on TeamSpeak, and all being at your own ship, being able to see your allies and your enemies flying around you, talking through that, I think that would be really awesome and feel like a lot of fun. So PvE operations of flashpoints, fingers crossed. So I know this is going to be a quick episode, but like I said, there wasn't a whole lot of news. Hopefully this will tide you over for at least a little while you're doing your double XP weekend this week. And right after the break, we're going to go into my Wall of Crazy, and I'm going to wrap up today's episode. But the Wall of Crazy this week, I think, is personally awesome, and maybe my favorite Wall of Crazy that I've done since I've started this podcast 24 episodes ago. So definitely stick around and listen to that. And let me hit the button.
What? That's impossible even for a computer. It's not impossible. I used to bullseye womp rats in my T16 back home. They're not much bigger than 2 meters.
And this week's Wall of Crazy topic comes from a very interesting source. I was listening to the Ukiki-cast. I was listening to the Utini-cast last week, and they had mentioned something in their community feedback. I forget exactly what they call it, what segment it is, but someone had given them the idea of a Halloween event focusing on the defeat of the Dreadmasters. And this was from Utinicast listener Tex McShoot'em-up, and I thought this was one of the best ideas I have heard for any kind of crazy idea that someone has given, a fan of the game has given. A Halloween event is something that people have asked for. People thought that the Rackle event would be Halloween event, and just events in general that more correlate to real-world events are something I know a lot of people would like to see, and I know a lot of people would not like to see. I know a lot of people say it's immersion breaking to tie it in, kind of force and shoehorn an event into something where it shouldn't necessarily be. You want to keep the real world separate from the in-game world. But I know a lot of people also like to see Halloween events or events in general correlating to events in the real world, because either you have time off or you're kind of psyched for a specific holiday, something like that. So I think this is an amazing way to split the baby on something like that. The Dreadmasters have been downed in the month of October, and in the world that we are playing in, they would be celebrating the death of the Dreadmasters. Those have been the main antagonists of the game since launch. And I think it's an amazing idea to correlate an event in-game to something that was accomplished in-game. This is something I don't know. I haven't seen any other MMO that has done something like that, where I know there have been like dynamic events and dynamic things like the head of Onyxia getting hung on the Stormwind, whatever. But this is something that I think would be really cool and different from what other MMOs do with their events, and their holiday events in particular. This would be an in-game accomplishment that gets rewarded with an in-game event later. So say next year, we have an event that takes players back to Oricon, which probably will be a wasteland. People probably won't be going back to Oricon, so it will be a reuse of content, which I know is something they really want to do. But it will also allow them to put, cool daily areas and daily event quests there, commemorating the death of the Dreadmasters, tying it into the concept of Halloween. The Dreadmasters are all about fear and instilling fear in whoever goes to Oricon. So you could have flashback events that show the fear and the Halloweenness, the scariness of the Dreadmasters, and tie that into Halloween. I think that would be a really amazing way to commingle two things, real world and in-game world, without really jumping the shark or without breaking players' immersions. I think that's... If I worked at BioWare and I was listening to this Utinacast, I would have stopped, paused the Utinacast right there, and got on the email and been like, we're working on this right now. I think it's such a cool and perfect idea, and I really hope we see something like this going forward. So thank you very much, Tex McShoot'em-up. I don't even know if you listen to this podcast, but thank you for this amazing, incredible idea, and I really hope that BioWare is listening to that one. So, and now we'll go into my usual roundup of the show. I would like to thank, I usually don't, sometimes I thank them, sometimes I forget to, but I like to thank all the other SWTOR podcasts out there. Torcast, Escape Podcast, Utinacast, Tor Wars, Corellian Run, anything else. I know the Enmity Podcast guys, 42 Podcast, I think you can find them on the iTunes. All of them are great. You should listen to all of them if you're not already. As always, if you'd like to contact me, you can send your questions, comments, and concerns to galacteeg.crr@gmail.com or tweet them to @gteeg, that's GTEEG on Twitter. Make sure to subscribe on iTunes to get weekly podcast updates. If you're new or thinking of resubscribing to the game, I provided my refer friend link in the show notes. And thank you, I got another in-game mail saying that someone else signed up via this method, so thank you very much. You get some perks, I get some perks, so awesome for that. Don't forget to check out my new website, GalacticGaming.com. I will have all my YouTube videos, my podcasts, any blogs and stuff I write will be there. I've been doing some coverage of the patch 2.5 PTS, so if you'd like to check those out, you can go to GalacticGaming.com. That'll be a link to my YouTube page there. I hope you've enjoyed this episode of the Unnamed SWTOR Podcast. This is JD, signing off.